Happy Friday to everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You've Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. I am joined, as always, by Matt Carlson. Matt, I am actually low on content this week because Andrew had life get in the way, which happens to all of us. You had a little bit of life get in your way. I had a little bit of wine get in my way this week, so it was a bit of a rough week. But we're here a little bit, maybe an hour or two later than normal. But how you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been a week, tis the season for kids to get seasonal whatever's going around, and we've been in it all week. So yeah, I was joined by my son for working from home the entire week. That was a welcome guest, but yeah, he's on the mend, so it's all we can ask for.
Yeah, I think my biggest. I had a couple things this weekend. So Saturday, I hosted my game night last Saturday, but before that, I went to the OTB, and man, I did something I'm not proud of.
Go to the OTB.
Well, I mean, not just going to the OTB, but there was a
You have phones. What is that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
turf stakes race. I boxed all the Chad Brown horses in the trifecta. And definitely came in with Gino Romantica winning. I forget what it wasn't. It was like the first lady stakes. I forget what the race was, but it was the big female turf stakes at Keeneland. And Fluffy Socks came up and sucked up for third, right behind Chili Flag. And I was just like, it was one of those things. I mean, sometimes this happens with ADW as well, but I think this happens more when you're betting with cash, right? Like you bet something, and then it's like you got $6 left over, and you're like, well, I guess I might as well toss this on something. So I ended up pressing a $6 trifecta box. So I hit it for $2, paid about $500, and then I had my game night. And Matt, I sent you a picture of the beers I was drinking, which were some heavy hitters. So unfortunately for me, I did not make it to even probably like 11:30 p.m. Saturday night, and yeah, my bets did not get put in. And unfortunately for me, I probably would have hit that late pick three that paid what was it, paid about $200 for 50 cents, something around there. I think
a little bit more than that, but that's all right.
no.
I won't rub it in.
I thought it paid like I thought it paid like 800 for two. Was that wrong?
Yeah, no, it was about there. So when you said 250, it depends on what base we were playing, but yeah, for the dollar base, it was around, I think a little over four. But yeah,
Jeez.
I did see the lineup that you said you were breaking out that evening, and I almost offered to put the bet in for you. No, I figured if I did that, it wouldn't have come in because I think you're 2 for 2 on that season. But yeah, it's hey, it provided more value for anybody listening to this to actually bet on those horses because your ticket was not actually in the pool. So
and luckily, it wasn't like what normally happens where my buddy Russ, our friend Russ, will go ahead and be like, please tell me you guys played the group ticket. Instead, what he messaged me this time, what did he say? He said, please tell me please tell me you ended up using the 2 in the last leg, which is, I think I had a question mark around sword. I think it was sword point in the last but
yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, you live and learn, but you can't put a price on board games. Although I will say that with there's less and less great deals on those like random Prime days.
Yep.
There was actually some good deals on board games, so I picked up a couple, and we'll probably be getting together one more time this month, and then Black Wednesday is always a day we get together, and yeah, it should be fun. But hopefully we can make the people more money this week, and hopefully I actually get to bet it. But I did so well at the OTB last week, man. I think I might go again tomorrow. I mean, let's go back, play some cash. Maybe we got to mix it up a little bit.
There's a nice carry at Woodbine. You can bring your dimes.
Yeah, I don't know about that, But we do have a nice pick three here. The rowing and table tennis handicap, 1,400 meters, race 8 is where we start this off. We talked for probably about 30 seconds pre-show, like we normally do. Um, I thought this was kind of a straightforward race because I didn't think very much of most of the field. Um, you got a couple of horses that have some wins. You know, the 9 Happy Daily has got a pretty recent win. The 11 Team Happy's got a pretty recent win. Um, and honestly, Team Happy, I think, might be could end up being kind of your leader in this race. Um, you know, it's just kind of tough because he's posted out a little wide there. The other horse I kind of thought that might have a shot at getting the lead was the 2 Sunny the Best, but he's another one that's post out and kind of out in the 9 post. So um, I think the front runners are going to have a bit of a hard time here. Um, I think of the 2, I probably prefer Team Happy a little bit, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the pace kind of sets up. But honestly, I my top pick, and this is probably going to be pretty short here, is going to be the 7 Jubilant Winner. Zach Purton gets on this horse. This is a horse that's had 2 starts so far and has progressively gotten better in each of those 2 starts. You see those closing fractions 22.53, 22.51. This is a horse that's got a legit closing kick. And I just think, maybe if this horse can break a little bit better and maybe stay a little bit closer, and that's something that Zach is good at doing. Or maybe it's just, hey, this horse needs to stretch out a little bit. But I thought the 7 Jubilant Winner, lightly raced horse that's improved twice, is 4 years old. I thought that he looked pretty tough in here. And then the high weight in this race, Stellar Swift. Um, at least on Speed Pro, seemed to be the horse with kind of the best figs coming into this. Obviously, he's kind of been sitting at that high weight now for his second race in a row. But I think that last race, if you saw that when the horse dropped down in class a little bit, he seemed to kind of take a step forward here, finishing second. So I do think that this class is probably more where he kind of wants to be. I thought Stellar Swift was in here, but pretty strong. Drew pretty well. Gets the 5 post here, gets Hugh Bowman. So a lot to like here. So I like the 1 Stellar Swift. I like the 7 Jubilant Winner, and I'm gonna be kind of skinny here because I'm gonna be a little wider in some of the later legs. But Matt, where did you land?
Yeah, kind of on the same 2 horses. I think at least I ended up on 4 different horses, but 2 of them are the ones that you ended up on. I think they're the 2 best horses in the race. I don't love them here. The one specifically, I think probably is better in these, like you said, right? I think is probably a class 3 horse, and these are a lot of class 4 horses. So it's tough to say, hey, this horse needs a setup, but I do think it had a setup last time and still kind of didn't get home. So maybe there's some questions there. Maybe it doesn't get any value, but I do think regardless, right, it may just be good enough to best these. And same with the 7, right? I mean, Zach's up, should move forward. You're going to end up paying a tax for it, but better draw, probably some of the best fractions in the field in that second 400. So I think you got to use both of them if you want to get through this leg. 2 other horses. I mean, one you already mentioned in the 9. I think was showing improvement at the last season or end of last season. So I've toyed, how I use this, but I think Happy Daily could show enough, kind of second up here. That first race was a really slow pace into a kind of a forward track. And, I think could probably move a little bit more forward second up here. So I'll probably use that. I don't know whether an A or a B. But, hey, I think that race, slow pace, wide draw, wide trip, kind of played everything up against it. So it could probably show more here. And maybe you get a decent value considering the 1 and the 7 are going to take so much money in this race. So I'll use the only other horse that I think I wanted to use was the 14, Mr. Good Vibes. I've seen a lot of people be chasing this horse. I haven't been on it per se, but I do think it's been getting enough of a following, and the speed's there enough where I'm always willing to throw in if a track's playing screwy, right? Like some of those days just end up saying, hey, if you have a bad field, low weights tend to do really, really well. I don't have any real rhyme or reason for when those days pop up, but I do think we're probably due for one of them soon, and this may be it. So, nothing other than low weight, some ability. If this horse doesn't show anything here, it's going to drop down in class to class 5. It looks enough like a class 4 horse at the weight to give it a shot. So I'll probably use that one too and be a little bit wide in this leg. But yeah, generally kind of saw it the same way. There's not a lot in this field. You're kind of scratching for a little bit of anything to get around some probably short prices.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty straightforward leg. I don't think we need to belabor the point, but I think race 9 and 10. I thought they were much more interesting races. I thought they were pretty tough. Race 9 is another 7 furlong race here. The Taekwondo 1400-meter handicap. We got Class 3 racing here, and yeah, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I think a couple horses, and I can't remember if I've bet these horses before this season, but the 5 Lucy in the Sky, like you have, I think probably is your likely leader. I don't know whether how hard the 6 will go to challenge, but Lucy in the Sky's further inside, and I think can at least be positioned better, if not be that much faster. That horse hasn't missed a board in 6 starts, and that's good and bad, right? You tend to pick up a little bit of weight. It hasn't put on too much weight though. Like if you look, it started in class 3 at 128 a couple starts ago, was down to 125, back up at 128 now. So not racing massively away from what it was doing. And look, that last race was on yielding too. So I think this is a horse that wants that firmer ground, and probably with the speed, not a lot of speed else in here. I think it's might be your favorite, might be a short price, but I do think is one of the best in this race. The other A that I wanted to use in here, I'm pretty sure I bet this one before, is the 10 Prince of Porty. It's been a pretty consistent horse and had some excuses last out. I think if you watch the replay on that race, Bentley kind of puts him behind a wall of horses in the stretch, doesn't have too much room to run, and once he does, he finishes pretty well into a blanket finish on the line. And with that, he picks up a little bit of weight, but I think he was right there. You kind of see a 5th place finish, but you're talking, less than half a length from actually winning that race. So, I think I like too that they didn't put him back down in 1200 right after. If you look, the last time they ran, this horse was at 7 furlongs. You know, I think the gut reaction, if that horse wasn't doing that well, would be to move it back down to 1200. I like that they kept it back up at 7 furlongs here. So it tells me that the trainers or the connections at least think this is what this horse wants to do. And so I think it's improving. I think it can show something. I think, hey, if it has that ability that I think it does, it can close in and kind of get home. So those will be my 2 A's. The only B that I'll use in this race, I think, is the 4 Gracious Express. I really liked the race 2 back last season, and it ran kind of into a hot pace, but it, kind of had the lead. And if you look, that was a race that King Miles ended up winning, but all the speed kind of faded out the back of that race except for Gracious Express. And so to me, if it can repeat that effort 2 back, I think it has a chance to win here. If it runs like it did first up, a couple weeks back, I don't think it has much of a chance. But I do think because it didn't look all that well last time out, you might get some value for a horse that just needed a race under its belt for the season. So, hey, maybe it's still racing into fitness, but hopefully it found something. And I do think you could probably get some value out of it if it kind of shows some of that back class that it might have. So I'll be the 5 and the 10 as A's, and the 4 Gracious Expresses might be in here. And, hopefully, hopefully get through this one because I do think a lot have a chance.
Yeah, I thought the 5 was my top pick in this race. I think the 2 and the 3, Zach Burton and Hugh Bowman, I think they're, Young Achiever and Beauty Crescent here. I think they're both on really, really good horses in the spot. Young Achiever, that last race, I think everything kind of finally clicked, and was able to get a nice win there. 11-1. It's just one of those typical Zach Burton wins where you're just like, how did we let him go off at double digits? But yeah, I thought Young Achiever's last race. I mean, I think he puts him in the mix in here. The 3 Beauty Crescent. You know, I know it wasn't like a huge jump in class last time because it was kind of like the kind of lower end of class two that he kind of jumped into, but I really do like that he's coming back down here to class three. I think he's just more comfortable down here. You kind of look, he doesn't have a win here at Sha Tin yet, but 5 seconds, 3/3, and a fourth in 15 tries at the class. And at this distance, he's basically not missed the money. Or he's over 50% in the money. So I I think he's a pretty consistent horse. He's probably kind of like your I don't know, like the barometer for this race, right? He's kind of like the measuring stick, right? And I think that maybe a little bit snake bitten. I mean, you saw a second by a head, 3 back to Ruby Lot, who's a nice horse. So yeah, I think that this could be a field that maybe Beauty Crescent's going to be good enough to win. I have these two both as Bs. Um, I do like the 6 silo here, and I would like the 6 a lot more if we had a better post. And this is just your typical, hey, couple starts here in 3 starts here in Shatin, got the fourth start, third or fourth up, and you see improvement each start. And this would be normally, hey, if this horse was like in the 3, 4, 5 post, right? I mean, if this horse is on the rail, would be one that I'd be definitely all over. I do like the fact that last time out he showed some speed. So looks to be kind of a tactical type. So yeah, so I'm interested here in the 6 silo. I have it as an A as well, along with Lucy in the Sky. And I don't know if it was just because I didn't want to go 5 wide, but I think the 1 Speed Dragon is in here with a shot too. Just kind of another one that's been running against better horses. You look back, you got the restricted races, the 4-year-old races, and coming up against horses like Helios Express, Massive Sovereign, who are very very nice horses here. And then went to ran a race in class two, and I think was just a little bit off of it. Kind of was eased in that race, but comes back here, drops back down in class where he does have a win in 4 starts, and I thought that maybe he's just another one that's just getting the right type of class relief. I mean, it's going to be carrying the most weight. He's carrying 135 pounds, so you know maybe he's just carrying a little bit too much weight because I mean you even look down to the 3 horse Beauty Crescent, right? Who's another horse that's dropping that carrying 130, right? There's a 5 pound difference there. So yeah, I'm kind of interested here in Speed Dragon a little bit, but I don't know, man. Going 5 wide in the pick 3 is kind of tough. Especially with I think kind of taking the 2 short prices the first leg, but it's definitely one that I consider if I'm playing like quinellas and trifectas would probably be one I use. But yeah, I like the 5 and the 6 the most here. I'll use some of the 2 and the 3, and I might use a little bit of the 1 as well. Race 10, the artistic gymnastics and triathlon. Are these just all Olympic handicaps? Is
I,
that what this
it
is?
it is actually. I do think like the Hong Kong Olympic athletes are there
Mm,
on Sunday, so they're like featuring those teams. So yeah, unfortunately, your Cantonese lessons have to sit for another
okay,
week.
well, thank
But
God. Thank God. They're gonna cancel me over my Cantonese. Um, we got Class Two racing here. We're gonna be going 6 furlongs, 1,200 meters, and yeah, it's not often I say this, but I don't think I want any of the horses on the front end in this race.
that knocks
Um,
out like 10 horses.
yeah, it does. This is gonna be a spicy race up front. I think. I think the best horse, bar none, in this race is the 6 Wunderbar. Um, but I mean, you just look just outside, or not just outside, but the 7 horse. Call me like you look at the horses that might want to get the lead in here. The 5 Lucky Encounters got speed. The 4 Superb Capitalist has got speed. 6 Wunderbar. 7 Call Me Glorious has got some speed. Um, heck, the 11 Sing Dragon has shown speed on the dirt. The 9 Wonder Kit has been up close. The 12 Bottom Up Together has been up close. Um, it's just and then hey, if the second alternate gets in, you got even more speed. Like there is so much speed in here, and you guys know how much I love betting speed. I'm not well. I'm betting a little bit of speed. I think the 12 Bottom Up Together is you kind of look and you're like, oh well, this horse has been winning wire to wire. I mean, on debut won closing pretty nicely, right? So I think it's got a little bit of versatility in the 12. I see Zach gets off. I think that just helps your price here a little bit. Ran second last time as the favorite to Ruby Lot, who once again I talked about earlier. Really nice horse. Um, and you get Matthew Chadwick aboard. I mean, he's a 10% jock here, but yeah, maybe my only concern is he's going to be out in the 11 post, but I kind of feel like last time he was kind of posted out wide, or at least that first time. I mean, he just kind of came from off the pace. So hopefully, Chadwick keeps him just like off the pace, out of trouble, tries and saves some ground here. And I thought the 12 Bottom Up Together made a bit of sense. My topic actually. Um, no, actually, I thought that maybe that is my topic. I did like the 8 Gorgeous Win here a little bit too. Um, that was like I said, I was just looking for some closing types, and I thought Gorgeous Win made a bunch of sense here. Won last time down in Class 3 after dropping. Obviously, it's another horse that Zach won on, but um, if you kind of just look back through that horse's history, has got some very, very nice closing fractions. So I think it's definitely got a horse. It's a horse with a really, really nice kick, and I think the fast pace is going to help him. Um, but yeah, the 8 and the 12, probably where I look at. I thought the new shooter, the 13 Wonder Star, was a little interesting. I have a B written next to him, but I'm a little concerned because looking at the trials, it looks like maybe he's a bit of a front runner too. So maybe he just adds to the pace complexion. Obviously he's coming in here off of 2 wins, got bought up and got sent over here. So um, I thought he was kind of an interesting horse, especially with Karis Heaton getting aboard. Um, he's if Zach Karis or Hugh Bowman get aboard a new shipper in here, I kind of take a little bit of notice. But um, you know, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, just looking at the trials, this looks like a horse that's got some early speed. So maybe he just becomes a pace casualty. Um, I took a little bit of a page off of your book, and I like this 14 Watch Buddy a bit. Um, the low weight in here, and if you look at some of those Happy Valley races, I think has been able to show that a bit of a closing ability. Um, I'm a little concerned that this is probably too tough for him. But I mean, you're getting a pretty significant weight. I mean, you're getting 117 pounds here. So, you get Bentley, um, and it's just a little bit better than I think coming from off the pace than Brittany Wong. I think we've talked about her. If I remember right, PNW is Brittany, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I just think you're getting a little bit of a jock upgrade here, and I think if you can, like I said, if this thing just completely melts down in front, I'm just looking for horses coming from off the pace and a horse with low weight. I think that when in doubt, take the low weight. So I'm going to be on the 12 and the 14 and the 8 with maybe a little bit of the 13, but I I'm not entirely sure what the plan is going to be for that horse. What about you, Matt?
I probably went way chalkier than you here. I do think Call Me Glorious and Wonderbar are just better than these horses, right? And Wonderbar, I think I'm skeptical of. I think I said it last time where that horse is going to take a ton of money, and it still will, right? Especially since, like you said, I think Zach has hopped off half this field, so people kind of see, okay, that's the choice he's making, and that's where our money should go. And it's tough to tell, right? Because the first up last time was on a yielding track, so it's hard to tell how much, you know, how much the track was playing into it versus how much that horse has in fitness, right? And when I said it last time, I'm skeptical if that horse will run kind of improved at the same rate as all the horses it's beat, and Kaying Rising and Mugen and all those. I'm still kind of skeptical for the money. I don't think you get much value on it. But that said, if it has, that horse might win by 4 lengths on a firm surface, right? I mean, that could just happen. You won't get paid off of it, but hey, it is what it is. So I think you do have to use Wunderbar, or at least if you want to cash a winning ticket, you'll use Wunderbar. I don't think it's value. So from a defensive chalk perspective, again, the worst thing you could possibly do, but it's not that defensive because again, it might just be the best one in this field. The lone A I'll go with is the 7 Call Me Glorious. I do think that's the other horse that's just better than most of this field, and I think it's just classier. I think it's shown enough versatility where it can sit off, right, and kind of let that pace fall apart. Um, he hasn't really passed horses too much, but I do think that kind of presser and then have the speed kind of fall back. Sometimes the problem with all those horses falling back, if you have pace collapsing, is that those horses that are closing need to go so wide, right? They end up having to navigate horses that are kind of falling backwards. And so you end up in a situation where you think it's going to set up for a closer, but they just always run into trouble because they're running into horses that are out of gas. So, you know, it, not to say that I want the best horse in the race that's inheriting a win, but I do think, at least from a setup perspective, you want some horse that can stay rather than some horse that needs to be on the lead and pressing into it. So I do like too that he has a race under his belt, right? I don't think the 1,000 meters is what that horse wants, but he, at least kind of has one in the belt to come up against a pretty good field in here. So, I'll be Call Me Glorious as an A, Wunderbar as a B. I know I look the same as you. I spent a long time trying to look for a closer in this field and who I wanted. And it's funny because I ended up in a much different spot than you. I thought the 3, Attila Bajil, was the best closer in a race full of speed. I don't know what you get on this horse first up. I do think, kind of concerning that he hasn't had a race under his belt against this field. But, Bowman takes the ride, well drawn, obviously, in the 2 post. I like that he's 4 pounds under that class 2 effort a couple back. And I think has shown enough historically. There's some back class in there where if things do fall apart and, kind of you're looking for that deep closer, I think this is the one I'd want to maybe catch one, right? Um, Horse clearly isn't known for winning races, right? I mean, I think what's the overall record on it? 4 for 29, right? I mean, that's not ideal. Um, but I think race shape wise, that's the one that my eye went to from a horse that can at least pass something in the stretch. So I'll use that as a B. And then I agree with you. I think on the 13, Wonder Star, that horse has some hype behind it, right? And this is probably the toughest field that horse could end up in. I don't necessarily want to use it, but if you can get a horse with hype that's going to be double digits and you get paid for 2 legs, right? Uh, 10 to 1s always seem to pay well. I mean, I think even on Wednesday, right, you had a 10 to 1 sucker per second that paid. Not that Happy Valley paid anything this week, but sometimes they pay more than the winners. And if you're going to have a horse finish behind either the 6 or the 7, you're probably going to want a price. So, if you're going to be live in this leg, try to catch something. And I think the 13, hey, maybe fills that scenario too. So.
All right. Did you pick race 1 again as your bonus play?
No, no, I couldn't do it this week.
You
I
couldn't do
can't do
this
all
week?
the firsters, and I can't do you know, kind of.
I
I
swear to
looked at
God,
it. I tried.
if you steal my play, I'm gonna be really mad.
I, I went to the stakes race. I thought the stakes race is a fantastic race, so I went to race 7. So I'll let you start. unless you
Okay.
picked race
Well,
7.
I
But
definitely did not go. I definitely did not go to a stakes race. I went to, you know, if there's no all weather race for me to get, get all hot and bothered by, why not a 2,000 meter marathonish race, right? And I think this horse is gonna need a little bit of help, but the number seven, 18 karat, uh, you look 5 starts back when he ran at 2,000 meters, and he took a field wire to wire in Class 3. You look 3 starts back, 2,000 meters. He kind of missed the start a little bit, and he almost still ended up overtaking it and winning, finishing second by a neck. They cut the horse back, and I don't think a mile is going for it. So they're going right back. They're adding the 2 furlongs. They're going to 2,000, and I look at this race. I don't see any ones in here. I mean, maybe the three packing Hurricane showed some speed last time out, but historically hadn't shown any speed before. Um, and I mean, Awesome Fluke has got a little bit of speed, but I see a big old number one over here in post position as well. So I like seeing Alexi Bedell here on the rail, on probably the speed horse here. And we're not going to get creative. We're going to see if Alexi Bedell can take these guys wire to wire here on the 7 18 karat. You're smiling because you either hate it, you love it, or you already knew this is where I was going.
no, I just think you're a sicko for betting a 2-turn race.
No, well,
Shots.
well,
I hate him. I have no idea how to cap him here. So God bless you for
yeah.
going.
Well, hey, I mean, we were picking all weather races before, so I mean,
We don't know how to
if
cap those either, apparently. But
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's not. I mean, heck, I guess bet the turf horse because Sword Point, last week went ahead and paid pretty decently there in that last leg. So,
did
but the Sha Tin Trophy, that's where you're looking at. You're looking at this 1 turn
I?
mile. Where did you land?
I did. This is a pretty spicy race, right? And I think, I do think Beauty Eternal is going to take money. I think Voyage Bubble probably takes a fair bit of money. I think Voyage Bubble will suck up a lot, and at any aboard, you know, I I've, I love every jock. They're all great, but he's 1 for 49 in a mile the past year, which isn't great if my math is correct. Um, and look, you have horses in here like Galaxy Patch who, you know, they're trying to pitch as the heir apparent to Golden 60, and no one's Golden 60, especially Galaxy Patch. I think Galaxy Patch is too much of a generalist. So, again, I kind of did that thing where I crossed out every other horse and said, hey, this is going to be value. This isn't the one I want. I ended up going all the way down to the lowest weight possible, a little further up. There are a few low weights in here, but I ended up on the 8 Chan Cheng Glory. And I think, to me, this is the horse that's moving forward in this race. This is the horse that's hitting 4 years old, running at the low weight. And if you kind of look at the fractions the horse has been running, I think it's improved every race, right? And I do think, obviously record wise, this horse is a miler through and through, right? Had a couple 1800s, had a 2,000 meter race in there. The mile is what it wants to do. And, horses like Galaxy Patch that can kind of do a little bit of everything. That's great. But I think when it comes to a mile in Hong Kong, this is like their bread and butter distance. This is the, kind of like in America where you're trying to breed that classic dirt horse, and you end up with a bunch of horses that are trying to go, a mile and an eighth, a mile and a quarter, mile and a half, I mean, that in Hong Kong is the 1 turn mile, that 1,600 meter turf. And I think this is what that horse, is fit to do. So again, I think I'll try and get around some of the prices or some of the favorites in here, and some of the horses that'll take a lot of money. And I think riding a low weight with Lyle Hewitson, even though with the obviously the pretty bad draw, the worst draw, um, I'll put my money here, and hopefully the low weight can outclass that draw, and hopefully this horse will continue to move forward and at least hit the board, if not sneak in for a win. So.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on You've Got to Be Sha Tinning Me. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow and Steady. As usual, he'll probably have some kind of post about his feelings on the card on his Twitter, so check that out, or X, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, check out if you're going to be betting a little bit of Keeneland tomorrow or Saturday. Check out our recording of our live stream where we covered that pick 6, which includes the turf pick 3. And yeah, let's make some money, guys. Have a good weekend.
Look at me.